First, I'd like to say peace to the gods. Welcome to Truth Tuesday with your host, Akeem L.
He knows more than you can imagine.
Well, the truth is, you got to get yourself together. The truth is, you got to get your mind right. The truth is, you got to get your paperwork in order. The truth is, Genocide Radio. I'm listening, but are they listening? Genocide Radio. What you talking about? Okay. What about Tuesday? Yo, Akeem, pick me up. You turn that on, son.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you'll be able to listen to the show.
At last. Genocide Radio. The truth is Tuesday. With your host, Akeem L. The truth.
Peace to the gods. You're listening to Hindsight Radio. This is Hindsight Radio. I represent it. The information station changing the nation.
All right, peace, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Truth Tuesday show with your host, Akeem, here on Hindsight Radio, the information station changing the nation. And this time I remembered to unmute my mic. Hey, I got a special guest, good friend of mine. He's in the studio. I'm going to bring him on screen. He's not going to do too much, or he may do some talking today. Because we don't have the mic set up that we need, and it's going to cause echo. So hey, I'll probably bring him in. He's been on a long journey with a lot of these processes and tried Major Newman is his name. How many processes how much money have you spent on processes and didn't get any results?
$100,000.
$100,000. That's a lot of bread. That's what was it? The SBC. I'm just thinking of things you tried. Oh, well, we're not going to get into all that. It's just all kinds of stuff. But, you know, sometimes we have trial and errors and hope it doesn't cost everybody that much. But let's see who's in the room. We got Karen Israel, as always, faithful listener and supporter. Happy Tuesday, Chief Lemuel, Great Grand Rising, Real Time, Antonio L, Mexican Moore, Indigenous Nolans. He said, hit it harder. Whatever that means. You want me to give the information harder? Yeah. Tonight we're going to talk about foreclosures. You know, I've been working on this for a good while. Got some really good information that can really put a monkey wrench in these people's petitions to try to take your homes from you. We have some preemptive strikes that you can do to, keep them from taking it. And some, before an action is taken and during or after, even if you got foreclosed on, you lost your house, you can go back and, subject matter jurisdiction. I've been building up towards this over the weeks, talking about this. So got some good stuff coming. So if you have a foreclosure going on, hit me up by keymel.com or hindsight1027@gmail. Hit me up in the email. Or just the best thing you do is go get a consultation so we can see where you're at and what we need to do. I got a team of people working with me, a team of two actually, to help with some real major processes that can really stop this thing. Before I wouldn't touch them. Now with what I know and what I've experienced and what I see other people's successes are through some testing, I'm confident that we can really help people. So keymel.com, set up a consultation and see what we can do to help you with your foreclosure. But I'll go more into it later in the show. But as always, we have to do our spiritual talk, our spiritual message. I always tell you guys that it's about you and what you're dealing with. It's all on you. It's not about the other person. It's not about the situation. It's about you and how you react to these situations, how you perceive them is what's going to dictate the outcome. There's no getting around accountability. The whole story of Adam and Eve was about accountability. They had a choice of eating from a tree. And, I have my theory, I have that whole Adam and Eve eating of the forbidden fruit it has several meanings to it. But on the surface meaning, they got caught out there and they started to blame others for why they took the actions that they did. That's the basic knowledge of it. On the more, the first level, the physical level. They didn't take responsibility. They chose to do something. Adam blamed the wife blamed the snake, and so on and so forth. And then, blame Adam said to God, well, it's this woman you gave me, and this is why I did what I did. If you never gave me this woman, I would have never had this problem. Instead of saying, you gave me this woman and I chose to listen to her voice over your instructions, who I saw you create both of us, or, I experienced that firsthand. If you believe Adam was the first creation, that's from that point of view. That's subject to interpretation, but it's a higher spiritual meaning in that whole story altogether. But the one I'm talking about is accountability. A lot of people, what I deal with every week is individuals who do not want to take responsibility for what's happening in their life. And it may not be good. It may not be a good experience. But once you take accountability and say, okay, I am the reason why I'm here, then you can deal with it better. Yes, the other person could be wrong all day. They could have done something. They could have did something to you that is not right, not ethical, not honorable. But still, it's your choice to contract into the feeling of being negative about it or thinking negative about them. You know, what you put out is what you get back, right? If you think negative, you're going to get more negative in return. You know, it's a very hard thing to not think negative about someone who you feel did something wrong to you. So how do you counteract that? You have to rise above that feeling and say, you know what, I'm learning. This is a process. I'm learning from it. And not expect anything from the other person, but expect everything from yourself, that you're going to turn this around and have good feelings about it. Sometimes you have to make yourself feel good about it. You know, you have to feel, you know, uplift yourself. And then from that, then you'll draw more uplifting feelings from that. But it's still about you and choosing to contract with the feeling of being positive or negative. There is no getting around that. You can try to, what Reverend Ike said, it's so high you can't get over it, and it's so low you can't get under it. You can't get around that. It's all about your responsibility and what you're going to do for yourself and how you're going to make it a positive experience. And remember, you can't make people do the right thing. You can't make people do the wrong thing. It's all on them. They have to make those choices. It's up to you to choose to deal with that or not. So many things people want. They want good things for themselves, but the reason why they don't get it is because they're thinking negative about those good things. You know, what you have right now is a direct result of how you feel or think about it previously to the experience that you are receiving. So remember, you are the God of your life. You are the Lord over it. It's your choices that's bringing you your experience. No way around it. So accept that, be accountable, and watch things happen in your favor. Actually, things are happening in your favor. It's just you don't like it. You don't like it's happening. You don't like that it's happening in your favor. You see, we want to accept all of that good stuff when it's happening great. You want to brag about, hey, I'm having a great time. But when that bad stuff, you don't say, well, this is working in my favor too. Because I believed in it. It was my thoughts, my mental processes that brought me everything. So everything's working for the good of the will of you, of God, or the Lord. You're the Lord over your life. I know the Bible, you know, people in church said, no, you can't be God. You can't be Jesus. You're below them. You're beneath them. That's another lie. You're not. Because Christ said you would do greater things anyway. He did say that. He said you would do way better than me. When I talked about the Tower of Babel yesterday, the so-called Lord of that time knew you would be better. So he had to counteract that and said, we got to stop these people. We got to confuse their language, scatter them around so they can be totally confused as to who they are and what their real power. So that means that they knew that you had the power to be bigger than them. so-called God, so-called Lord of that time knew that we have the ability to ascend to a greater power than them. Do I need to read that again? The Tower of Babel? Do I need to read that again? I read that yesterday. Let's see if I still have it up. Yeah, I do. I still have it up. I think it's worth sharing that again. I'm not going to read the whole thing like I did yesterday. I'll go to 5. It said, but the Lord came down to see the city. He came down. Where did he come from? Yeah, I've thought about these scriptures. They said the Lord came down, like he was physically came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, if as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other. See, another boardroom meeting, another showing the elites planning to hinder you from your power. He said, let us. Who is he talking to? Let us come down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other. How did they do that? They had some type of technology. They probably did it over time. Created what I told you yesterday, I think it was public education system, some type of teaching and alternate ideas. Like even in this community, you have people who teach different things about different processes. I really believe that a lot of people that are out there teaching are either there are conscious agents or unconscious agents of these so-called lords that I'm talking about in the Bible. Because as long as you're getting misinformation, they're satisfied. As long as you're distracted by something other than what is really the truth, they stay in power. And he said, so the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. So what happened? They got confused. They started arguing amongst each other. Isn't that kind of what's happened now? Maybe the Tower of Babel is like in full effect right now. We are still experiencing the Tower of Babel effect because somebody believes this, they believe that. We're fighting. No one is agreeing. No one can get along. And as long as we are confused, like, last year when the pandemic was people getting on talking about, oh, the internet's going to do this. It's going to go down. We're going into darkness. We're going to have famine. We're going to have this, just promoting. They say the government promoting fear. They were promoting fear too. So I look at them as all one and the same. They all part of the same Lord of confusion. They all part of the process of keeping us all in the dark with confusion and misinformation. That's why I don't believe anything people tell me. When they tell me, hey, I got this and I can do this. Okay, show me. Prove it. And in this journey, I have very rarely get proof of anything other than what I've been doing. No, there's one other brother out in New Hampshire, the state citizen thing. He proved what he was doing. I just don't agree with state citizenship. With the recoupment process, the brother I deal with there, he's proven that through other people. What else? Who else? The bond process and all of that. He's proven he can get that filed, but as far as what, anything else other than get it filed and what he does with our recouping process outside of that, I haven't seen any proof that it can discharge anything, like that. But for what I use it for, it works. You see? But that's it. Very few people have brought me proof of SPC, brought me true. So they're all, to me, part of the Tower of Babel. When I hear these other guys telling you all of these things you can go in court and do, and I don't see proof that it's working, Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel is a symbolic entity or thing or situation that let's look up the word Babel. Hold on. Let me look at my dictionaries here. Yeah. Let's look at that. Babel. Hey Matt, look it up in this encyclopedia for me. I'll get that. Babel. Let's see. What is this? What does it say about babbling? I should have my Black's Law dictionary here. I should have my Black's Law dictionary. I never did look up this in Black's Law. Let's see. Babel. They got Bill in here. All right. Got an echo here. Oh, there you go. Oh, hang on. Let me fix this echo. Settings there. Stand by. All right. What does it say?
Babel.
Hang on. Let me put your mic on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Hebrew, Babel, Babylon, an ancient city of Shinar, where according to Genesis 4 through 9, chapter 11, the building of a tower intended to reach to heaven was begun and a founding of the language of the people took place. Usual lexicon, a scene of noise and confusion, a confusion of sounds.
Okay. All right.
But
technical difficulty.
this is unplugged because remember the battery will go out.
Yeah.
That's what happened. It wasn't in all the way.
All right, we'll get that later. All right, what is this? So Babel is a confusion of sounds.
Confounding of sounds.
All right, so let me see what it says in here. They have different spellings of it. They got Babble, properly throw out, to utter words imperfectly or indistinctly as children, to talk idly or irrationally, to talk thoughtlessly, to talk much, to pray, hence to tell secrets, to utter sounds frequently, incessantly, or indistinctly, to prate, to utter, babble, senseless prattle, babblement, idle talk, unmeaning words, an idler talker. So, I mean, it keeps going. Uttering a succession of murmuring sounds. So, babbling, foolish talk. So, basically, yeah, we lost you there. You gotta, yeah, that's split that. No, don't worry about it. I'll get you back on. I'll take a break. So basically, what has happened is you guys are listening to these people tell y'all all of this nonsense. They're babbling. If they're not showing you proof, it's useless. It's useless information. And I'm going to keep hitting on this every week as much as I can talk about it, because too many people have spent so much money and not getting anywhere. Not getting anywhere with their process. You guys want freedom, and you keep listening to people who not helping you. They're just taking your money. But like I said, the foreclosure stuff is real. Got issues, schedule a consultation, and we'll set you up on a path to freedom and freedom of mind. Remember how I attack things with evidence, not all of this fancy processes. I use their rules that they must play by. Do y'all know that attorneys never play fair? Because when they come into the court, they don't have real evidence. None whatsoever. They don't have any real evidence to show you. None. You make it real by your own hand, by admissions. Oh, they ask you, did you sign this? Is this you? Is this that? No, your answers is what make it evidence. Basically, when you go into court, you're dealing with, if it's not a real party in there, someone you actually harmed or, owe money to, someone real. And I'm not talking about student loans and mortgages and credit card. I'm not talking about that type of owing. I'm talking about it on an individual level. You borrowed money. Say if I borrowed money from Major Newman over here, and I didn't pay him back. That's a real party. I owe him money. He's going to make that claim. But not these entities that once you sign your name, they convert it into a security, start trading it, and then now they still want you to pay, and they are making money in the back end and still want you to pay. They never told you that they're making money off of you. That they're using you and your labor to profit. And then they come after you for this so-called debt that they're getting paid off several times over. Same thing in bankruptcy. They have you in the Chapter 13, but they've already charged all of that stuff off and wrote it off. And they're collecting payments on you. They come and take the property and then send you a 1099-A like they gave you some money. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. But once you understand that this stuff is very simple, and what you're looking at is not real evidence, and what you're looking at is an attorney uttering blasphemous, slanderous statements towards you, who you're the Lord, you're the God. saying that you owe this and that, and the court is allowing him to talk like as if he know you, he was there, giving statements that are not sworn to, but it's you who listens to him and don't stop it. I know judges, wait till he finish. He shouldn't even be waiting till he finish. He need to be presenting evidence, sworn affidavit. Even if they put a sworn affidavit on the record, you still get the right to question that person who swore to those things. And a lot of times in these declaration cases, they're only swearing to their records. My records show that he owes money, basically is what it says. So, akimel.com, set up the consultation so we can help y'all with these. Because, these moratoriums about to end. They're going to end. Consultation. All right, what I'm going to do, before we go into more of this, I wanted to talk about something also. And then we'll talk more about the foreclosure stuff. If y'all have questions and want to talk about your foreclosures, there's the number. Call in and I'll get you. Okay? But I'm going to take a short break so we can get Major Newman's computer going. And then I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to share the screen. This, how they stole you guys. See. Window. This right here. This investigation of Native American boarding school faces missing records, legal questions. The truth needs to be heard. Showing how they took Native Americans in. Children ended up dead. And records are missing. And this has been happening all over the country. So 563-999-3615. And while I'm getting his computer straight, I will be right back. I know I sound like I'm preaching to you, but I can't reach you unless I reach that spiritual nature. So here we go. Let's get started. I always like to start with this because this here is a nice icebreaker. It's a definition. And I want to know, how many black people we got in this room today? Huh? Wow. I'm impressed because I'll be having almost the whole room raising their hand when I ask that question. The whole room would ask, like, y'all not black? Y'all not black? Now, I'm going to have somebody read this, and I'm going to pick him out. Brother Ray back there. Take that to him. And then you can pass it on. We're going to look up the word American. And the first word is black. Read that nice and loud. I mean, so where everybody can hear that. Let me tell you what dictionary that is. You, bro. I'm picking on you because you have a different shade, and I want you to read that because that comes out with more force from you than it would come from me or anybody that looks like me. Huh?
The word black?
Black. Read it out loud.
Black. Black, pale, wine, livid.
Nope, slow down. Go back and read that again.
Black, pale, wine, livid.
Wine and livid is deviations of pale and bleached. But go ahead.
To become pale, to turn white, to become black, to blacken. Pale man.
Right there. I think we got the point, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, that's Noah Webster's original dictionary. He was a Christian because his history of his life is live.
This is Hindsight Radio. I represent it. The information station changing the nation.
He knew that they were switching up words. And he wanted
This is Hindsight Radio. I represent it. The information station changing the nation.
All right, there we go. We had the technical difficulties. First time trying this out. All right, so I want to read this article showing you how, you know, we all pretty much are Native Americans or American Indians. This whole slave story is a piece of crap. It's not altogether true. What happened to my window? There it is. Let me minimize some of these windows I got going here. All right. Oh yeah, on a side note, well, back to what I was talking about, the Tower of Babel, that whole Iraqi dinar revalue stuff, that's another Tower of Babel situation. Everybody's got, oh, it's going to happen. And no, it never happens. All right, let's read this article. It says, investigation of Native American boarding schools faces missing records legal questions. The truth needs to be heard from the perspective of those who were harmed. The leader of the Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition said, over the 4 decades that Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School operated in Michigan, thousands of Native American children from across the country were taken from their parents and sent there to be stripped of their languages and tradition. So they're showing you how they reprogram these children by taking them away from their parents at a very young age. The U.S. documented 5 deaths of indigenous children at the school from its opening in 1893 to its closure in 1934. Now, let me before I keep reading. No, let me read this paragraph, and I'm gonna just remember these dates. But when the land where the school once sat was returned to the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe of Michigan in 2010 by the state, the tribe's researchers uncovered a more extensive history of the federal government's violence, records confirming the deaths of 227 children while at Mount Pleasant. The search for their remains is still underway. The effort to figure out what happened to those children illustrates the challenge the Department of the Interior faces in its recently announced investigation of more than 350 Native American boarding schools that operated in the United States for more than a century. So what they're saying, they took children away from their parents, put them in boarding schools from 1893 to its closure in 1934. Now, that's just one school, and it was done around the country. During this time, do you know what was going on around this country? I'll show you. And I talked about this before. I'll share the screen with you in a second. I just did a search, 1893 World Fair. That's what I did. That's what I just did. In Wikipedia, let's share the screen. Let's share it. Chrome tab. World Columbian Exposition, 1893. They were doing world fairs all over the country. So, and in these fairs, they were showcasing indigenous people around the world. So what they did was they stole children, put them into these fairs all around the country. Then in some of the fairs, especially ones in New York, they, like in Staten Island, they had these what you call incubator babies. So what do you think was happening? They created some test tube babies, and they were reintroducing them into society by saying that these were incubated babies. These mothers couldn't carry these babies to term, and so they incubated them. And they had a lot of them. Now, this is at a time where Christianity was a big thing. So having a child out of wedlock was serious, almost punished by death. You definitely was outcast at this time. So you really think these women were having these babies, just getting pregnant, and they were taking these babies, especially since technology was very limited back then, so-called limited? I don't think so. I believe they were already doing what you call stem cell regeneration and creating babies through tubes. Now, when they started talking about test tube, let me put it this way. Whenever you hear on the news that they're creating a new technology, you best believe it's already been done. Already. And they're just getting you prepared for it. And then somewhere down the line, they introduce it. It's already been done. I don't think it's a coincidence that in 1893, they were taking children from their parents and put them into boarding school. What do you think was doing with these children? How did these children ended up dead? They were probably experimenting on them and creating a new race of people through these children by taking DNA and manipulating it. Let's keep reading this article. Let me go back. Share. There's got to be a better way to share these things. All right, here. The hard part is the investigating the land and understanding what the boarding school did, said Shannon O'Laughlin, chief executive of the Association on American Indian Affairs, a nonprofit cultural group and a citizen of the Choctaw Nation. Thousands of children lived, worked, and died in these schools, far away from their own homes, O'Loughlin said, and time has passed. Canada offers a grim preview of what the Interior Department's investigation might find. In the last month, the mass graves of more than 1,500 children have been found on the grounds of 7 former residential schools in Canada. Do you think they just got these kids and they just killed them? No, they was doing experiments. 1893, you had the World Fairs, and then you had the introductions of an incubator babies. What do y'all think they were doing? They were trying to create a new race of people, or they did, to introduce into society that they can have more control over. Creating what you call a real live straw man. I won't be surprised if this video somewhere in the future gets shut down. But okay, the staggering number of stolen children found at just those few institutions hints at the magnitude of what is to come as more grounds are investigated and more tribes locate their lost. In the U.S., the investigation announced last month by Interior Secretary Deb Haaland, a member of the Pueblo of Laguna and the first indigenous person to lead a cabinet agency, aims to determine the scope and impact of the country's Indian boarding school policy. The investigation seeks to gather information on the decades of institutionalized, federally funded cultural assimilation that has led to a host, they just sold you, federally funded cultural assimilation that has led to a host of negative outcomes for survivors and their families, from mental health issues to the loss of entire communal generations. Tribes are bracing for a reckoning that many see as long overdue. The truth needs to be heard from the perspective of those who were harmed, said Christine McCleave, the CEO of the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition and a citizen of the Turtle Mountain Ojibwe Nation. There needs to be some element of justice or transformation when assessing the impacts and the harms and the damage that was done and how to restore things that were taken or broken. The endeavor acknowledges a truth indigenous peoples across North America have known for generations, that the governments of Canada and the U.S. didn't just take the culture of the indigenous children that both countries attempted to assimilate through boarding schools. In countless cases, they also took these children's lives, each one representing a stolen generation. Indian boarding school survivors' experiences, oral histories collected by nonprofits in recent decades, have documented rampant instances of sexual and physical abuse, psychological trauma, and deaths of children in facilities run by churches and the federal government. Now, these under the Christian direction, they was doing this. Christian. In some instances, children died from sickness, according to government documents, but survivors allege that there were other deaths due to abuse and neglect that schools did not report. Stories of children being beaten for speaking their language, having their heads shaved, and being forced to use the Bible as a way to understand how their culture was barbaric have been passed down through generations of indigenous families. In many cases, the abuse caused survivors to sever their ties with their native culture and history altogether. The schools were part of a broader push to erase indigenous cultures, a step to colonization of North America. The United Nations definition of genocide includes forcibly transferring the children of one group to another. I read this to you before. That's how come the affidavit for your passport works so good. And because I used that very definition of genocide. And when you go and do your process at any one of these places and they refuse to allow it through, they're committing paper genocide on you. Yes, and you need to say that. This is genocide. See, people don't see that they're committing genocide when they try to prevent you from putting your nationality on the record. But that's what it is, and you need to be speaking that. When you're being prevented, hey, do you realize that you committed a federal crime? of genocide? Yes, and it's a corruption of blood. But any national reckoning on the atrocities won't happen easily. Researchers and tribal leaders say that not only did the government try for decades to cover its tracks, but shortcomings in federal law raised serious concerns about how tribal nations will repatriate the remains of their lost children. Barely more than a third of the government records for Indian boarding schools that operated in the U.S. have been located. According to the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition, a nonprofit organization that advocates for truth and reconciliation process for the survivors of Indian boarding schools, many documents were intentionally destroyed, while others exist in the university archives and other historical collections, making finding them labor intensive, especially for tribes that lack the research staff. The Interior's investigation will seek to identify the children who did not return home from boarding schools and their tribal affiliations, giving tribal nations an opportunity to not only understand the impact on their communities, but also begin the process of repatriation. Look at the word they're using, repatriation, back into their native tribes. So when you're doing your affidavit, you're repatriating yourself. So when they telling you foreign state, because most of you see repatriation going down to the Department of State and expatriating yourself. You don't have to do that. But this also gives me another look at things. Not a new, but actually new, when they're using repatriation in this article. Only the people who have been following me and really understand what I've been doing understand how powerful this one word is now in the process. Even if the Interior's investigation manages to find records for most of the missing children, federal law makes finding their remains and bringing them home another problem entirely. The Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, a federal law, was passed in 1990 to stop the theft of cultural. We need to look that up. Native American Graves and Repatriation Act. Wow. I'm putting this in my bookmarks because I got some work to do. I got some work to do on that. Too much to talk about tonight. A federal law was passed in 1990 to stop the theft of cultural artifacts and human remains from graves and burial and community sites. But the law was designed to regulate theft by universities, museums, and collectors, not to address the government's role in genocide or the legal pathway to healing. So the museums can steal this stuff and put them up, but you can't. Not only does the law have no provision for the protection of unmarked graves like the ones being uncovered in Canada and the U.S., it also has no mechanism to require private landowners like the Roman Catholic Church, which still owns many of the former boarding school sites, to cooperate with tribes or federal authorities in the repatriation of remains. So they're telling you that the Roman Catholic Church is responsible for taking your nationality. Making you assimilate into their form of religion. Now, so all those people who ascribe to their faith of the Bible and God and the way it is, this is clear evidence of that wasn't your true religion or a true spiritual beliefs. There has been legislation that applies equally regardless of who owns the property that those children are buried on. So O'Laughlin of the Association for American Indian Affairs, I don't care if the church owns it or Walmart or the feds, it should be treated the same. In the absence of federal law governing Native American remains on state or privately owned land, state laws would govern the path forward. One of the major concerns, O'Laughlin said, is that many states do not have laws regulating discovery of unmarked graves. So The reason why they don't want these unmarked graves to come up, because when they pull up these graves, they're going to see these people as not as fair skinned as they're trying to make them look. Their whole game will be toppled if they was able to dig these graves up. The truth will come out. The U.S. government campaign to destroy the cultural identity of indigenous children. What happened? It just, about to say. Cultural identity of indigenous children and indoctrinate them with Christian beliefs started in 1879 with the Carlisle Indian Industrial School in Pennsylvania and lasted into the 1990s. Over these decades, the Indian boarding school policy established 367 schools across the U.S. We got to look at this. We have to go and look at all of this. The Mormon Church found the policy part particularly useful. The church used it and built off the federal government's Indian adoption project in the 1950s and 60s to culturally assimilate an estimated 50,000 indigenous children from across several states and tribal nations. Matthew Garrett, a professor at Bakersfield College, told The Atlantic. The scale of the destruction led to the Indian Child Welfare Act in 1978, a federal law that gave tribal nations some legal power to stop the theft of their children. Many former Indian, y'all know how they're stealing children now, indigenous children now? The child welfare, welfare that comes around and take children, that's how they're stealing children now. When the state says you did something and they come and take your child. That's the new way. Many former Indian boarding schools are now in the care of the tribal nations they once sought to decimate, lying in various states of repair. Some are museums like the Phoenix Indian School Visitor Center in Arizona and the Chicxulub Indian School in Oklahoma. Others are perhaps beyond repair, including the round stone building gathering dust among sandy bluffs in the Navajo Nation and the crumbling brick monuments to past offenses under the watchful eye of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe of Michigan. So right there in Michigan, they got schools that you can go and try to rehab these buildings and work with these tribes to repatriate yourself and the children that were lost there. Today, the students of Mount Pleasant are remembered nearby at the Zebawing Center of Anishinaabe Culture and Lifeways, where researchers have documented the stories of survivors and the policy and tried to whitewash their identity. The task of finding the remains of the 227 children on 320 acres. They keep talking about 227 children. You know it was more than that. Congress once allotted for the former school's grounds. If that's where they are, will take time. The state of Michigan only returned 8 acres of the land to the Saginaw Chippewa tribe of Michigan, which has found parts of the old school but has not yet identified any remains. Another 300 acres of former school grounds went to the city of Mount Pleasant. City manager Nancy Ridley said that the city hopes to eventually use the land for business and residential development, but has paused those plans as the tribe determines where the search for remains should continue. Now, look at this picture closely. These people are dark, man. Come on. Look at that picture closely. It's showing the proof. Advocates, researchers, and tribal leaders see the Interior's investigation as the beginning of a long process, one that, if done effectively, will take much longer than the Highlands' tenure as head of the Interior. This is just starting the conversation, said Dante Desiderio, chief executive of the National Congress of American Indians. Before she became Secretary of the Interior, Halen was a Democratic member of Congress from the New Mexico and introduced the Truth and Healing Commissions on Indian Boarding School Policy Act, which would not only document the history of the program, but also look into ways the destructive assimilation era continues to inform the Bureau of Indian Education, which runs public schools on reservations. The bill was referred to the House committee last year, but was never heard. Staff members for Senator Elizabeth Warren D. Mass are working with the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition to update the legislation and carry it forward. What we're hoping is that the report from the Interior says more time is needed, more investigation is needed, and then the commission is able to pick up where the Interior left off, said McCleve of the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition. McCleve's work entails the long and arduous process of helping survivors and their descendants not only deal with the mental and physical traumas that remain, but also generational loss of cultural identities. These are examples of how the policy actually worked. She said to assimilate Native peoples to the point where they are disconnected now from the tribal nations, communities, that language and culture. So, repatriate, big word that they use in there, repatriate, showing that you get you from out of being a U.S. citizen back into your tribal culture, in that tribal nationality. Man, if you know what's going through my mind right now, here's the pictures. Of course, they want to make you believe that all of them were close to fair-skinned people. But I'm looking down, this one picture here is telling the tale. That's a lot of children, y'all. That's a lot of children. All right. Sad, but true. Let's go back. Sad, but true. So I'm going to bookmark that because I got some studying to do about some of these things I'm just now listening to. World Fairs going on 1893. So if you have ever been in a boarding school or a orphanage, it's a good chance that you were taken away from your tribe and put in there. You were taken. Somebody said they want the link of the article. I can't really give you the link because it's at NBC News. It's on my Apple News app, so I don't know how to even give you a link. Let's see if there's a. No, that's not gonna work. I don't know how to give you the link to this. Let me see if I can find it by doing a search in the browser. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Once y'all sometimes if y'all just do a simple search, y'all find this stuff, okay? It ain't hard to find. There's the link there. I'm going to have to retitle this show. Genocide of the U.S. and Canada governments exposed. That's what I'm going to have to retitle this show for that. Yeah, they definitely telling on themselves repatriation. So even if they're trying to say you're African, that's another repatriation. If you took me, then I can repatriate. They're doing it for these so-called Indians. I'm not African. I'm not going with that, but I'm just telling you, they are talking about repatriation. So even by their own words, they stole people from another land and brought them here. They can repatriate. You see? Wow. They're telling you what they can do, what you can do. So when they're trying to tell you you can't do this and do that, lies. Man, this article is so powerful that yeah, what you want to say? Hold on, let me open your mic.
I had the fortune of doing a sweat lodge with the Lakota tribe. Those are the tribe that followed the buffalo.
Right.
And the chief said expressly they didn't like the word Indian.
Whoa.
They wanted to be called First Nations people. So perhaps the word Indian and Indian Welfare Act is sort of like human, or one of these words where, like African or something. It's not about more, but
that.
right. But you,
the truth is in the article.
Right.
What you need to do. So what you decide to call yourself is
it could be an of your nation if you agree to being a term that they created that's under their jurisdiction. So it's like the word Indian or certain terms, possibly. I don't know. What do you think? Okay.
See, you're looking at words and stuff like that. And that's how we get distracted. That right there. All I'm looking at is you call yourself what you want. They're saying repatriation. Repatriate to what you think is the appropriate term for yourself. That's what we see. This is how we get sidetracked. We start looking at these other things. Don't use this, that. Yeah, I know all of that. The key thing is the process of repatriation. And that's the key to look at that. Now, what you decide you kill yourself is a personal preference. It don't have to be the tribes that they what they call themselves. Just know that you're not what they're saying you are. I know that Indian that just means indigenous. That's just another word for saying that. That you're indigenous to the land, or you're a native. That's the words they're using. But what I'm saying, repatriation, find now these tribal names that they're using are the real names of those people. You notice they didn't use Cherokee, which is what they were trying to assimilate everybody into. And First Nation is right because they were the first nation. First Nation doesn't mean they created the First Nation means they were the first nation that was here on this North American continent, South American continent. What's the other one? South American.
European.
No, not European. It's South American. North American. Central American. That's all that means. So what I'm saying is just know that you can repatriate to whatever you think is appropriate. When you start getting into the words and all of that, those are subject. For one thing, when you start bringing those issues up, do you have proof to substantiate that?
Yeah, I'm just going on what the chief told me.
Right. See, you're going to bring the chief in? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My thing is, I want to take their words and support it. What I'm doing. Whatever I call myself. Now, the key thing is you got to find every state has a like in South Carolina, the main tribe in South Carolina is the Catawba tribe. Right? In North Carolina, it's Blackfoot. It's a few of them. The Catawba is part of it. Then there's other ones too. Because remember, North and South Carolina was one. It was all called the Carolinas. I think it was called the Carolinas clear up to Florida. Seneca, yeah. Seneca is more north. New York. And places like that. But that's it. Yeah. Let's see. Who we got. Anybody? I didn't even go to the phone lines. Oh, nobody's on there. No one's got their hands up. Y'all don't. Man, I must be explaining stuff good where y'all don't have questions or anything. 563-999-3615. You can call in if you have some. Because you on traveling to Jamaica. What's your question about traveling to Jamaica? Does that include the IRS? I don't know what he's talking about. Oh. That's JJ Olson. You said greetings. Can you answer a question on traveling to Jamaica? Okay. What do you want me to answer? You didn't ask the question. You can get on the phone and ask that question, or you could type it in. You can see the chat over there where it says comments. I'm waiting for whoever wrote that? Okay. JJ Olson, I'm trying to answer your question, but you gave me incomplete. There's one in Harbor Springs still standing with the tribe people living around it. That's cool. Someone said there's nothing new under the sun. Repatriation is definitely telling on themselves. That's exactly right. 1 minute. Okay. He said 1 minute. Someone said they're loving the flow of where the show is going. Indigenous tribes, repatriation. They said, oh, yeah, that repatriation just opened my whole mind up to a whole new, I don't even know what word I want to use for that. A whole new attack mode. I knew I was going to do something and I held off on it. And there it is. It just told me. But I'm sure y'all probably going to hear it somewhere else they're going to try to beat me to it. Let them do it. Let them try. Let's go up here. Let's see what we got. All right. JJ Olson, I don't know if you're going to call in or you're going to type it in. All right. Any other questions? I got to move on. Who's got a question? Or if you don't have a question, I'm going to end the show. So, what do you think, Matt?
I think that repatriation is important because we talked about Babel. We talked about the Tower of Babel and how the or the Elohim scattered everybody.
Right.
Then re-infiltrated the languages, then go and they infiltrate the cultures and dismiss the cultures, demand that all the native children learn a new language and then reunify them under a new language and destroy their cultures. So that's a genocide of people using a new language to do so. So it seems like new languages are copywritten to trusts. So that would be my question. How much do certain words have to do with bringing you under a jurisdiction if you use those words, if they're copywritten, if they're belonging to the codes and codices and will of a trust?
Another thing I'm trying to tell you, you're still getting sidetracked. Trying to, not use this word, that word, this word. Remember, the average person don't even understand that. So they don't even get that part of it. They don't get, this word can possibly put me under their jurisdiction, stuff like that. So I don't concern myself with certain things like that. It's a distraction. It's another form of babble. I gotta be specific. You'll never get anything done if you do it that way. Because yes, certain words. Now, what I call myself, how I identify myself, puts me under their jurisdiction, and I'm careful about that. But when I'm just talking regular and writing certain things, I'm not really. I would never get anything done if I did that. You'll never get any progress, and the people you're dealing with don't even know that deep into it. Somebody said they had revelation. See, they repatriated, great appreciation again. JJ Olson says, as an American national, should I be concerned about the COVID testing? It doesn't matter about being an American national. You should be concerned about the COVID testing simply for what they want you to do. Stick that thing up your nose. You don't know what's on that. And, that's what you should be concerned. It has nothing to do with American national. It's just a test. But the test, sticking it up intrusively up your nose, that's questionable to me. When they have other tests that can do the same thing. And sticking it up your nose is not a rapid test. So that's more of a personal thing. All right. I hope that helped. Yeah, I definitely got to change the name of the show. So who else? Who else is out there? Yeah, he's asking that question because whenever you travel internationally, coming back in, they want you to come back with a negative COVID-19 test by sticking something up your nose, and that's the only test they'll accept. So remember, these people want you out of their country too. So it's probably everybody's coming back negative. I guess you can call in. The number's right there on the screen. 563-999-3615. 563-999-3615. Call in. Let me put it. I know there's a lag. I keep forgetting there's a lag on the broadcast. There it is. Here's the number. I'll try to stand by on that. Now, that repatriation, man, I mean, that's powerful. I wonder what that involves. Let's see. No, I don't want that. Let's go back to that article. Because they had, I thought I had, let's see. Because they had a link in there. Let's see if I can find that link again. What did I do? Didn't I copy and paste it somewhere? I know I did. There's a recording of the article.
The opening ceremony of the Tokyo.
I can't. They probably don't want me playing that. 1893. I'm trying to look for that act. That means I got to go back and skim it. See if this brother called in yet. If you called in, press the 1 button so I can get you. Press the number 1 so I can get you. If you're on Blog Talk and you just called in. All right, there you go. 713-725.
Hello, how's
Hello.
everyone?
Everybody's good.
Hakeem, how are you, big brother?
I'm doing good. Good.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to call in. You know, you and I have done some work in the past, and
Right.
We've done a show and interview. I guess you know who I am.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just wanted to, I was listening to your show, and it's very interesting. I just wanted to mention something because I actually text you as well.
Yeah,
they found a mass grave out here in Sugarland, Texas, of African descent, similar to what you've been speaking on.
Right.
So I was just pointing that out. Maybe do some research on that way. This show is very interesting because, you know, I never thought about what you were talking about, how the world fairs and the boarding schools, how they, I guess, correlate. But this is very interesting because I'm starting to see that. And typically, these are in now what they call the so-called burgeoning suburbs, where they're finding these mass graves. Like Sugarland, Texas is supposed to be like a suburb founded by engineers in Houston that didn't want all of the because the city of Houston has no zoning, so that means you can build anything anywhere you want to. So they created a little city called Sugarland, but they found and this was in 2017, I want to say, a mass grave of like 349. I could be corrected on the number, but it was a mass grave of so-called Africans out here in this suburban, area.
Right.
And then remember also this area that was sugar plantation. So you know.
Right. Of course, they're gonna say they're African Americans. Those are basically Native American people.
Yep. Yes, sir.
The reason why they were taking the children from the parents and putting them in these boarding schools or these orphanages, strictly for reprogramming, and on top of that, get them to assimilate into the religious life, and then they disperse them back out there as, Americans or U.S. citizens, and gave them the idea that I can guarantee you that's probably where the African American term came from.
Yeah, and then they give it to them, and I'm not going to quote it because this is just off the cuff, and they probably took them to those schools and then sent them back there to promote,
as African Americans,
their
told
ideology.
them that they were slaves, and
go
this
promote
is what happened.
Promote that ideology.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if anybody is listening, came out of one of these boarding schools, best believe that at least one of your parents was considered a native of the land or indigenous. You see what I'm saying? And I know people that come out of orphanages and things like that. Unexplained why they are in there and other members of their family wasn't. Like, I guarantee if you dig into that history, there's some, you can trace back you got to get those records from those schools. And they have to give it to you under the Freedom of Information Act. Because when they take the children in, they have to record why they took that child in and where they came from. That's what they're supposed to do. So, but this whole repatriation is revealing. So even if you want to go with the whole Native American or the African American theory that they came up with, even if you want to go with that, even as an African, if you want to claim that, you got the right of repatriation. You're not a U.S. citizen. Yeah. Charles, you had anything else you wanted to say?
Yes, sir. Before I go, I watched an interesting documentary on the other day. It was Blacks in Guatemala. It was called on YouTube, right?
Right.
And the guy, he admitted, he said, we are called the Garafunas. He said, look, he said the blacks, and I don't want to be wrong and misspeak on your show, right? But I was just going by the documentary. Right. The gentleman said he said, I'm a dread here living in Guatemala. And he said, one thing to note, in Guatemala and Americas, we not African. He said, we never have been. He said, in the Caribbean and all of the different countries, maybe they're African flow, but we were the Garafunas. We were here a long time. We're not African descent. And I found that interesting. And then I started doing more research in Colombia and Ecuador and all of that, and stuff like that. And we've been here, man.
Oh yeah,
just like the homeless people obvious. And all of that.
For one thing, they didn't have the technology to move people from one place to the other.
They couldn't bring that many of us here if they wanted to back then. Not even now.
Right. Now, on the other note, is just like you bring a animal from one part of the country, the planet, to another, it destroys the ecology. These people coming
Yes,
from
sir.
so-called Africa wouldn't know how
Yes,
to
sir.
do anything with the lands here. South Carolina is full of red clay. North Carolina is full of red clay. How do you grow anything in red
Exactly.
clay?
Exactly.
But coincidentally, red clay is a good healer. It's full of minerals. You know, they used to eat that red clay. The natives people, the indigenous ate that clay. You know, use it as mask and all of that. There's so much stuff you can do with red clay. But this whole area is red clay, but you have red clay in Africa? I'm not sure, but I doubt it. But even if it was, it's not the same thing. See, I also, just like they did the incubator babies here, and there's a video you could get on YouTube talking about the world fairs and the incubator children in Coney Island and stuff like that. I think they did. When you look at color of the skin, that is another Babel. That's to me another Tower of Babel, because I believe, this is just a theory, that just like they created the incubator babies for here to create a more because there's so many indigenous people that were of color, dark skin, that they had to bring balance. This is why you have Ellis Allen, where they were bringing in all of the immigrants, and then you have the incubator baby thing. When you look at the film, all of those were fair skinned children, and they had orphanages going on with that too, just like they were doing the indigenous people here. They were doing the same thing in Europe. So what I'm trying to say is, what we're calling people from Africa now, those are not the same, to me, the same people as the people of color here. Why? Because when they come from over in Africa, a lot of them don't like us. They don't even identify with us. They look at us differently, even treat us differently at times. So I think there was an incubator or gene manipulation on that part, just that they were darker. See, the distraction and the babble or the confusion is looking at that complexion. It's really, that's why I did the show yesterday, showing all of the buildings, how around the world you had the same type of building structure, showing that these people are all one culture. It wasn't any, because you had the building, the White House in the United States looked like the same White House almost as in Dominican Republic, where you have people of color. Italy, France. Well, we went through a whole bunch of places and they were all basically the same structures, meaning one people, one language. And then you had, well, we got to create confusion by letting them look at themselves. I'm better because I'm this color, or I speak this language, I come from here. And that's all distraction. That's all confusion. By definition, that's babble. And of course, I had some people, because they so want to be on top. You know, I'm the Moors and we're this and that and that. But, you know, you dig deep into the Moors' history, they traveled the world and enslaving people. The same thing we accuse the European of doing. So how is that better? That's not. All right, man. I appreciate your comments. But anybody that want to, if you called in, hit the
All right,
one
thank
button.
you, sir. You guys have a good one.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it. Good comments. 787-974. 787-974.
Hey, peace. I'm calling from so-called Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. I haven't heard from you in a long time.
Man, I've been dealing with a cancer tumor and all kinds of nonsense.
I'm sorry to hear
dealing
that.
Dealing with a health issue. Well, you know, I'm working on it. I'm not going nowhere.
All right. So what's going on? What you got? What do you want to share?
Oh yeah. Here I was listening to you on Facebook about you were talking about the Garífunas.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, the Garífuna, the culture of Garífuna is so beautiful because they are the very that's a good example that the so-called brother from the South Bronx or any part call it the South African Americans, they see this group of brothers and sisters as a unity, dealing with the music, dealing with the culture, protecting the culture, speaking their own language. They have their own dialect and everything.
Right.
Very smart brothers and sisters.
Right.
I admire the way they are because it's a unique group of brothers and sisters. Is outstanding. Yeah. So yeah, in my what I call it the Caribbean side, well, we turn people here as a Puerto Rican, which the people are not Puerto Ricans because the word Puerto means port and rich port. So none of us we are that.
Y'all the Taino people.
We always
the Taino.
Huh?
The Taino.
Well, we got it. Taino. Taino means good people. People call, we Arawak, we Morenos. The thing is, the people they don't understand in the Caribbean because don't forget the brown, the melanin people, brothers and sisters, the olive skin people here in the island, they feel inferior because they don't have nothing. They don't know anything about the who they are.
Right.
And when you try to reach them, they run away from you.
Right.
You know, because they still feel inferior. You know, and they're still talking that black thing, that black that. You know, but they do the special forums on Facebook and crying and like I said, bitching and moaning like little sissy, and that's not the way to conduct ourselves like that anymore.
Right.
Because we're not black, nigga, in color, neither Puerto Rican, neither Dominican. And it means, it's a big misleading because look at what's going on these days now. Well, we have a pandemic. They put on to the people. They put a gospel, to cover their mouth like a good slave. So they're still, rampage. They're still out there.
The only reason why all of this stuff happens to us because we allow it. No one really stands up, and we know it's wrong and doesn't feel right, but we still allow them to control, have that control.
Yeah, I've been talking to hundreds of people about not to get the vaccine. They still do. Nothing that I can do.
I don't tell nobody not to get it. I just tell them I choose not to. They can do whatever they want. People have a choice to do whatever they want. If you want to take it, take it.
My best advice to tell the people, whoever is vaccinated, when the new pandemic comes, stay away from those people.
Well, they got one calling the monkey chicken pox or monkey pox coming now. They're talking about they found monkey pox and the person is in a hospital. That's another one they're talking about. I don't know if they're gonna make that go. Then you got the variants that they're saying now they're blaming all of the new cases on unvaccinated people. I think even they were saying, I'm like, okay, if you have the vaccine, then what's the problem? You should be okay, right? So why are you worried about unvaccinated people? It doesn't make sense. But unvaccinated people are still getting it too. But then they're saying it's not as severe. You won't get it as severe. They got all this science all of a sudden to know that what's not severe, what is, it's all,
Well, that's what they've been doing here. Is all propaganda. The media, the radio station is all propaganda. They're always, we all these force a positive test, and they're making all kinds of assumptions by the Department of Health. So many people, there's all misformed because these people, the FDA didn't never approve it that this is a vaccine, just in case of an emergency. So people are so stupid, they're still getting it. So that's their fault, you know.
Yeah, all
So,
I know is I'm going to do
brother,
what's best for myself. I don't give anybody advice on what to do and not to do when it comes to that.
Well, you could use like clove, garlic. No, you could use clove oil. Oregano oil is powerful. And that you make your tea or you grow your own oregano, just chew it. I have that out here. I'm well prepared with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because people they don't. I have to keep my immune system high.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna let nobody to damage what I've been doing with myself through all these years. You know what I'm saying? Because let me tell you something. For the past 4 months, I've been fighting, and I was on the stage. I couldn't walk. Yeah, I know, but I don't get the turpentine here. I don't get that.
Y'all don't get the pure gum sweet turpentine? You can't have it
No,
imported?
What I get, no, I don't get that. I wish I could have a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I've been checking.
They don't have it in the hardware store?
They used to. They don't have it no more.
Wow.
But I stay away from these people. I've been doing all the stuff, with herbs.
Okay, gotcha.
So, hopefully I just started a new treatment about a month ago. So hopefully I'll be good in the next 6 months. From now, this tumor might go down,
Okay.
So yeah, you still got your website and all that stuff?
Yeah, akimel.com is still there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't talked to you some time,
Yeah, it's been a while.
I've been disconnected sometimes. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube,
Mm-hmm. Right.
And download
Okay.
So you got my number. My number is still the same. Give me download Telegram. Give me a call. And I lost everybody's number though.
Right. Okay.
And I get a lot of good information about the vaccine and all that good stuff. Good presentation and everything.
Okay.
I think people have to stay away from that garbage.
All right.
And people need to come together more than ever before because now this thing is about being black and white. It's about everybody. It's in the pathole.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be. They trying to make everybody a slave. Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, man. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
All
right,
it's all about fear. And I think we should be talking about solutions.
Yeah.
But right now, I hear Borinquen, nobody wants to join me because everybody want to be chief.
Yeah.
And I've been involved with this for over 30 years, and I've seen so many crazy stuff. Look at what happened with this guy upstate New York with all this. That's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? But, everybody want to move that way.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I don't, me personally, I don't use the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I don't care. I don't use that Constitution because I use something better.
Okay.
If Moors have Zodiac Constitution, we have the right to indigenous people, and we have that Constitution. You enforce it, but don't claim that Constitution is yours.
No, it's not for you. It's for them. Because it's their contract, not yours.
For them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Use it to throw the stuff in their face, but don't use it that belongs to you.
Mm-mm. I don't use it. I use it for them. Let them know, hey, this is your deal, not mine.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I gotta move on. Appreciate good hearing from you.
Nobody keep on. All right, man.
All
you got my number.
I got it.
Get a chance.
Okay. All right.
I'll keep me update. Give me a call as an update.
Okay. All right. No
All
problem.
right.
All right.
Peace, brother. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
All right, thank you.
All right. Anybody? I see some people on Blog Talk. Press 1 if you have a question. Okay. 904-386. You got turn down your radio or your computer. Turn your radio down.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you need to turn the computer down or whatever you have going in the background. All right.
What's good, brother?
What's going on? Everything's good. What do you have to say or question?
Yeah, the brother that was on, I just want to let him know, look, a teaspoon of Epsom salt a day will help that shrink, okay?
Yeah.
It brings down blood pressure, it reverses arthritis, asthma, the list goes on. A teaspoon of Epsom salt a day. It really helps and it keeps you hydrated. That's number one. Number two, FDA also disagrees with the COVID shot, and they also have a line. They have a website that they provided with all the graph of all the deaths that it causes from the FDA. I placed it on. Yeah, the FDA. I placed it on a link of your Facebook comment link.
Okay.
So if anybody needs to know the dangers of it, FDA has proven all the dangers. The list goes on.
They're the ones who said they can use it for, isn't that what the ones who said they can use it for the emergency authorization?
I don't even know. I just know that they're saying the opposite on their webpage than they are saying on the media that's controlled by,
I'm trying to get
the other
okay,
people.
there's my Facebook page. Where did you put it? You sent it to me in a message or?
I'm looking at the show link and I text at the bottom of the show link. Elijah.
I'm looking for. Give me some. I don't see it, brother.
You don't see it? Okay, I'm looking at it right there. So
let me go to my page where I shared it. Oh, I see it. Okay, so this says vaccines related biological product advisory. It just come from the .gov, FDA Gov. Citizens may not be able to fully access the information. CBRA plans for monitoring. What's the date of this? Okay, but this was last year, October 22nd.
Yeah, 2020.
So where in here will I find what you just said? So I don't have to.
Okay, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you should see a snapshot they provided, and it has all the side effects in it. Death, strokes, cardiovascular.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, they're acknowledging now that all of that stuff is happening, but they're still saying the benefits outweigh the risk.
Even the documents say that the COVID shot only helps at a 1%.
Where does it say that?
So you know who controls the media, the Rothschilds, and the media's going to tell one thing. So they put this where you can barely even find
Well,
it.
they got a whole list of, okay, here's some of the, I should share the screen. They're probably going to take this down. If I do, I know they're going to do this. But they got a lot of things here that they, hang on, let me see if I can share this screen here. Chrome tab. There it is. These are all of the risks. I'm not going to read them out. I'm not going to say that C word. So y'all can just see it. These are all of the things that you're taking a chance on getting or dealing with if you get jabbed. It even say deaths. Like that one thing right there would stop me. Right there. Like, okay, let's go. This is from last year. I'm not gonna read anything. I'm just gonna scroll through so everybody can see it. right there. That is what he's talking about. Oh, my light went out. Man, I've been on too long. They shutting off lights around here. This has gotten dark.
What a coincidence.
That used to last a whole show. Hit that light for me because it's gonna be dark. It's gonna get a little bright in here in a second. Yeah, that's good. I'm not gonna read it. I'm just gonna scroll through. I'll actually put this link in the chat for people. Good information, brother. I'll put this in the chat.
No problem.
Because they listen to keywords, so they got that AI. Passive surveillance, active surveilling. So October 2020, and this is for all the people that say they do their research. Well, I already know about this system here that's on the screen. And I had recorded and did a little video on how many people had died. So this is one of the reasons why they haven't approved it as a V word. Because if they did that, then they would be responsible for all of this. So that's why it's emergency use, but it's not approved as an official.
They also even admit about the nanobots.
Really? In this article? I have to read through this.
Yes. Yeah, you got to read through it. That's 5G network upgrades for a reason.
Oh, I see that. I don't speak on because I don't know.
Right.
Then what's a vaccine enhanced disease? What is that? That's one of the side effects. That's an adverse.
It enhances disease. They're dying from the shots. They show up with a.
You're talking too much. You're talking too much.
Oh, right.
Use code words. You see, I'm not saying that.
Right.
Be careful what you say.
Bad NyQuil.
It says vaccine enhanced disease. Like that's a separate thing. All right. I'm looking. I'm just scrolling so everybody can see it for themselves. So my thing is, these are the acknowledges. I don't see nothing about what you just said about nanobots or anything in here though. Maybe if I just did this, nothing. Yeah, see, when I speak on these things, I like to speak on what's actually there. I know a lot of people are making that claim, but I'm not saying it's true or not. I just like to speak on facts. I would suggest people look this stuff up. There's a lot of, and this stuff is really serious stuff that could happen. This is not nothing minor. It ain't saying headaches. It's talking about bad pregnancies. All right, brother. I appreciate your comments on that. All right.
No problem.
Appreciate you,
Michael. All right.
Peace.
Yeah.
You still stuck on them words, bro. I don't want to. Certain words I will not use. But y'all saw the article. The link's in there. Y'all go do it for yourself. Now, I wanted to bring something up. J.J. Olson said that in Africa, they call our people white in parts of Africa. Yeah, that's true. Because in this dictionary here, black means pale. So I could go, and I've read those definitions over and over. Actually, I played a clip where that was going on. All right, it's after 9. And if somebody, I see some people on Blog Talk. If you want to say something, I can get you. If you don't press that 1, I'm out of here. Give you about 10 seconds. Press the 1. I see you on there, called in. With that being said, then that's it for me. Y'all have a good night, and I will see you next time I do a show. That could be tomorrow, next week. You know how I do. All right. Peace.